Hello and welcome to the channel. And for today's video we are checking out this custom that I made of an Masters of the Universe Origins Viking He-Man. So excuse me, pardon me for the dog barking in the background. It always happens when I'm recording, as you know. But anyway, so this figure is kitbash and the custom. So again, so this is Viking He-Man in Origin style. So as you know, Viking He-Man was released as part of the new Eternia line for the Masterverse line for the 7-inch figures. But the obviously I never really intended to use the helmeted head sculpt for the new Eternia He-Man, which turned out to be the custom that I showed you about a month or so ago, which was the King He-Man, right? So that was the basis for that. I used that figure to create that version, that King He-Man, and the alternate head. Um, for that one, I used to put on the Battle Armor He-Man, and then because the Battle Armor He-Man standard head is the one that I used for that, the King He-Man, and then the alternate head for the Viking He-Man is this one that comes with the helmet. So I had it spare. I don't remember what I did with the head. I believe the head that turned out to be on this He-Man is the one that I used for my first custom He-Man long ago, that I showed you guys, that I made my so-called Filmation style Masterverse version of He-Man, right? So I had a spare He-Man body, so I plopped the the helmeted Viking He-Man on this guy, and finally turned came around to this figure, and I said, well, what more can I do with him? So the obviously the strap is also from the Masterverse figures, the Revelation, from the Revelation line, and um and that's mostly the parts that I borrowed from the other figures. Everything else here is stock, right? Um, so now let's talk about this. One of the things you will notice. So let me tell you. I've been in search for a good mirror chrome paint. Um, I know that if I can get my hands, I believe the best mirror chrome paint you can find for like hobby things is the All Clad. I believe All Clad has like the best mirror chrome that you can find, and I do have the airbrush. Um, Speaking of which, I may do a video on the airbrush that I own. Just for those of you who have never seen the airbrush that I got on Amazon, it's one of those very affordable airbrushes, but it has worked. Although I did run into one issue one time, which led me to buy a second airbrush. But again, I may do a separate video for that down the line. Um, but overall, the brush has performed amazingly, so I don't have any particular performance issues with the airbrush itself. But anyway, I've been in search for a great mirror chrome that I can buy here without too much trouble. And I had thought I had found the right chrome paint when I bought, let's see, let me just bring it in. Give me 1 second. Okay, so there's this brand that I got at Home Depot here, which is it's a local brand. I'm in Mexico, for those who don't remember or don't know. So this is a brand, HDX, right? So this is what do you call this? The enamel paint. So this is enamel paint. Okay. And I thought that when I bought it, I had finally found the correct chrome paint to use. I had used it. I did some testing, and and the finish on it turned out to be very reflective. Not quite mirror chrome, right? Um, and I thought, it might work, right? But then over time, it kind of like dulled, so it almost turned out to be on like another silver paint, right? And I was like, well, a little disappointed. So my search continues for a mirror chrome, but again, I believe all clad is like number one. So I may be looking into purchasing that in the future. So what I used that chrome paint to paint the sword, the axe, the chest harness, and the helmet. Once I let it settle, I don't know if it's because of the current weather here in Southern California slash TJ. It's been really humid, right? It's been hot but humid. It's not that dry heat that we usually have, around this time. Um, so the paint never really cured. Funnily, I guess maybe it has a lot to do with where it's applied, because I applied the paint on the axe and it cured nicely, as well as on the sword, and again it looked cured. But for some reason on the harness and on the helmet, it didn't quite 100% cure. And even though I spray painted and let it dry for a couple of weeks before I did anything on it, and enamel paint is supposed to dry pretty quickly, actually, as I believe. I mean, relatively quickly, I should say. Not, quick as like instant, but, it shouldn't take days on end for it to fully cure. That's what I'm trying to say. So, uh, to so because a lot of obviously I had to put the paint on when painting the figure. I was gonna put the harness on the figure, so if the paint hadn't cured, a lot of the paint would rub off on the figure itself, right? Um, so when it wasn't drying, I couldn't apply the harness to the figure. So what I ended up using is nail polish, clear nail polish, to put on the back end of the harness, on the inside portion of the harness, the area that is gonna make contact with the figure, right? So I applied nail polish, clear nail polish on the back side of the harness, let that dry, and then put it on the figure. And I guess, I don't know, I may have missed some areas, some spots, but some of the chrome did end up rubbing off on the figure. So I took the harness off, did some cleanup, and for the most part, I did manage to get all of the chrome that rubbed off on the body. I managed to get it off. I haven't checked since then if there has been no more rubbing, so we're gonna check this out right now and see if there's any more rubbing. And you can see right here that we've got some rubbing right there. yeah, you can see it kind of came off. So the thing that I didn't ended up having to do then was that didn't work. So what I ended up doing then was applying clear over the front of the figure. I'm sorry, the front of the harness, right? So I used clear nail polish on the back end, but I decided to use actual a finish on the front end of the harness. And this is the clear that I've had for many years now. This is Deco Art Direct Clear. This is the matte finish. I use here I have the glossy finish, right? So this is what I use, the glossy finish on top to give it that shine to go with the chrome paint, which gives it more of a silver look. But if you look closely, you can see that there's like a texture on the harness and on the helmet. But let me raise the camera so you can see both in the shot now that we're a little bit closer. But you can see that there's like a texturing going on the harness. Turns out, as the clear cured, it contracted the paint underneath, and it gave it that look, right? At first, it wasn't like this. When I applied the clear, it didn't react with the paint immediately, and it took a couple of days for this actually to happen. So it kind of caught me off guard when I turned around one day and I was like, "Oh, whoa, what's going on?" So yeah, the that particular the direct clear and this paint didn't quite mesh with each other. But in the end, I actually kind of dig the look, the texturing on it. It's a little different, it's not the same plain harness, right? It kind of gives it like a rough metal look to it. Especially on the helmet, it almost fits. It's like a battle hardened, seen some things type of armor. I don't know, but I kind of like how it looks. I'm also maybe trying to convince myself not to refinish the whole thing again. But yeah, I kind of think it looks okay, you know. And then I just ended up painting with a metallic blue. The right here, that part that's I believe is supposed to be like some sort of gem on the helmet. And then I used the Tamiya, the clear red or transparent red. I used that for the all of the red parts that you see here on the harness and on the helmet. And for the bone, for the horns, excuse me, I used like a yellow. No, it's not a yellow. Yeah, a vanilla, a vanilla colored acrylic paint. I believe that's from the Craftsman. Those affordable uh, craft paints that you can find in Michaels and all that. So I use that. It's a vanilla color white. It's not pure white, which is more close to a bone color, right? So that's what I used for the horns. And then on the figure itself, um, I did the dry brushing type thing for the musculature, right? So I used the same technique that I used on the King He-Man, where I used the eyeshadow that I got at the dollar store. So I just try to match a good uh, dark skin color for the shadowing on the musculature. And I applied that on the figure, and then just applied a matte clear to protect the from smudging. So it's easier also to remove that smudged paint, that silver paint from the figure, because it already has the clear on top. So, and I also applied the dry brushing on the face, and there may be something, I don't know, there was something maybe with the head. You can see how it's a little darker over this eye right here. It's the because I did do some cleanup afterwards with alcohol to remove any excess, but that part in particular on this side of the face, it would not come off. So something may have dug into it because of like mold release or something with the plastic itself. I don't know. And I did also paint like underneath the cheeks and all of this of the armor, right? So keep in mind it's not a 100% color match, because obviously the color of this figure, which they originally came from, is not the same color as the skin on the plastic. I'm sorry, of the Origins figures, right? So it's not a 100% match. I didn't repaint the face or anything. But from a distance, you can't really tell. And also, okay, so like I said, I also applied that chrome paint on the sword. You can see the difference from like the handle to the actual sword. There's a different color to it. This one actually does have the nail polish as a clear on top, and you can see the nail polish does not damage the paint like it did the Duraclear finish on that on the harness and the helmet. So this turned out great. And then I also applied it on the shield. I did get some rubbing from the portion where it clips on here at the wrist. And you can see here some. If you can see here closely, you might see some excess right there. If it would focus, there you can see by the bracer. You can see some silver paint. As I try to clip on the shield, it did rub off on it, right, this part right here. So when I put the shield on, I only put it like not so tight, but put it a little looser, something like this. But usually I just have them holding either the axe or the sword. But yeah, so mostly this turned out kind of the way I wanted, although obviously the issues with the chrome paint was not something that I foresaw. But again, you could say happy accident with regards to the texturing on the harness and on the helmet. Again, it almost looks kind of, again, I think it looks cool. It's just something different. It's not the same plain looking, plastic. It gives it like a character to it. I don't know. But yeah, other than that, it's a pretty simple. Did I show you the axe? No, I didn't. So this is how the axe turned out. Again, once I applied the clear on the, you see some pitting on there. Once you apply the clear over the chrome paint, it turns it basically into a silver color. But you can see, as opposed to the flat gray color of the plastic there on the handle, this looks much better, right? So there you go. So again, probably gonna look into that all-clad chrome paint and see if I can get my hands on that in the future. But yeah, as far as the custom for this guy, again, just something quick that I tried to pull off, which turned out to be a little more extended because of the issues that I had on the inside of the harness. The paint coming smudging on the figure itself. So you're gonna try, if you want to try something similar, just what I maybe recommend is not even apply paint on the inside portion of the harness. Mask that area off, and that way it's only the bare plastic that is making contact with the body of the figure, right? So maybe for the next time I try something, I do that instead. But anyway, there it is, my version of an Origins Viking He-Man. So let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.